Yeah, g'day, Daniel Fellows from all seven of us. I don't know if you know about this, but I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I've been collecting his books for many years, and just lately, I think it started last year, I started collecting all of his uncollected short stories, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So the books I've got. So if you want to read other short stories that aren't in his collections, these are the books to get. So in McSweeney's mammoth treasury of thrilling tales, there's actually a Dark Tower short story with Roland Deschain. It's called the Tale of Grey Dick. So that starts off with a Roland Deschain. So if you want to read another short story that isn't necessarily in any other books, and so yeah, get that one. Another book that contains one of his short stories, uncollected. He wrote this one when he was 16. It's called The Night of the Tiger. So it's one of his early short stories, and it's in Tales of Wonder and Imagination. So all the short stories contained in here are all about cats or tigers or anything like that. You got like things, authors by Joyce Carol Oates and George R.R. Martin, Neil Gaiman, Charles D. Lint, Lawrence Block, and obviously Stephen King. So very young Stephen King, one of his early ones. Another short story here in another McSweeney's Enchanted Chamber of Astonishing Stories is a story called Lisey and the Madman. And obviously I think he wrote the short story first, Lisey and the Madman, which eventually he lengthened out to Lisey's Story, which is one of his favourite novels. So there's that one. Obviously Stephen King was in a band for many years called The Rock Bottom Remainders, from memory, and he wrote a short story in here. There's actually 4 short stories. One of them was by him, and that short story is called The Rock and Roll Dead Zone. And I think they had some sort of competition where certain people had to guess which short story was written by which author. But the one in here by Stephen King is The Rock and Roll Dead Zone. So there's that one. And then in Shivers 6, we have The Crate. Now the Crate, you might remember, is in comic book format on in Creepshow, and they even filmed it for the movie by George Romero. So if you want to read the actual short story that the movie is based on and the comic book, it's in here. Shivers 6, called The Crate. And in number 7, Shivers 7, we had Weeds, which is also another it was filmed as The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill, which Stephen King himself played the part of Geordie Verrill. But yeah, the short story itself is called Weeds, and from memory, I think it's the very last short story. But we've got other short stories by Clive Barker, Lisa Tuttle, Graham Masterson, Beholder. So even if you want to read other short stories, there's some great authors in these collections as well. And in Shivers 5, 6, 7, 8, Shivers 8, we have another short story called Squad D. Now from memory, Squad D was also an early short story. I think he wrote it in the late 70s, early 80s. And he submitted it to Harlan Ellison for one of his collections, but Harlan Ellison rejected it, said it needed more work or whatever. So if you want to read another uncollected short story, read this one, Shivers 8. So those 3 Shivers anthologies are all edited by Richard Chismar, which is one of his co-writers. He did the what are they called? The Gwendy books. And the last one, or second last one actually, it's called In in sunlight or in shadow. So I don't know if you can see the cover here. All the authors in this collection was presented with a painting here, and the editor said, write a short story based on this famous painting. And Stephen King wrote a short story called The Music Room. So I don't think that's the entire painting, but you can Google it on the Google photos or images. And also all the short stories are based on the painting itself. So Stephen King wrote a short story based on that, and it's called In the Music Room, which quick read but very, very enjoyable. So I like that one. It's got, again, if you want to read other short stories, you've got Joyce Carol Oates, who else we got? Joe R. Lansdale, and from memory there's also Christine Catherine Rush in here as well. And now I was talking about uncollected short stories, but if you want to read a couple of other short stories, there's 2 short stories in here that have been collected. One's called The Ballad of the Flexible Bullet, from memory. I think that's in Skeleton Crew, and In the Death Room, which is in one of his later collections. But not only does it have those 2 short stories previously collected, it also has loads of articles on writing, introductions to other books, and so that is a great addition to any Stephen King's collection. So if you want to read more about uncollected short stories by King that you can read elsewhere in other books and whatever, and their adaptations, you can go to the all7ofus.com website, and the link will be in the description somewhere. All right, bye.